Hi everyone, I'm Sophia Haber Brock. Today I have the pleasure of speaking with the 2024 startup team, Misfits of the Sea.
Misfits of the Sea, MOTS, is a fishing tackle company that specializes in designing and manufacturing fishing lures that catch trophy-sized fish using light tackle.
So today I'm joined by, over here, Duncan Hathaway. He's a senior business analytics and international business majors, and Cian O'Donnell, who is a graduate student obtaining his master's in business analytics. And we were also going to be joined by Kyler today, but unfortunately he couldn't make it. But yeah, this is the Misfits of the Sea for the 2024 startup. So thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks. We're really excited to be here.
Yeah.
The startup competition's coming up quick. It's on April 25th. So how are you guys feeling about it? How do you feel? Nervous, excited?
I'd say a fair bit of a bunch of different emotions going on right now. Really excited for it coming up. But with that, it's kind of crunch time. So, we got to get going. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Cian?
Yeah, lots of work to do. We were fortunate enough to go to Silicon Valley a few weeks ago as part of the startup program. And that was a real wake-up call, I think, for us to get everything in gear. So, yeah, definitely crunch time, bit of a sprint to get everything in the next week. But we're excited.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I totally want to talk about that Silicon Valley trip. That's such an incredible opportunity. Well, okay, first of all, talk about Misfits of the Sea.
We're not a boy band. I know it probably sounds like that, the name. I think you're probably best to explain it, Duncan.
Yeah, so MOTS, or Misfits of the Sea, is a fishing tackle company specializing in trophy class fishing. So what we do is we'll design and manufacture lures to give anglers or fishermen or fisherwomen to target the biggest fish in the world of that species. And we hope to expand that product line past lures in the future, but for now, we're starting small and then going to build out.
Yeah. So you're planning to expand this in the future too, past startup and beyond?
Yeah, we're hoping to use startup to get some capital for the initial the molds and just production of the lures, and then reinvest into the business down the road.
Yeah, that's so cool. Okay, now talk about, I know you're a big fisher, Duncan. I want to hear about, how did you begin fishing? What's your origin story?
Oh gosh. So I guess a lot of young boys, my dad took me fishing, and we'd do a family trip every year up to Maine for smallmouth bass. And that's kind of where it started, and then it kind of faded away as I got older, middle school, high school, fell more in love with baseball. And that started taking up my summers, my springs and stuff. And then 2019, so what is that, junior year of high school, there was a bluefish run in the spring down in New Jersey where I'm from. I went to the inlet, the Manasquan Inlet, hooked into a giant bluefish, and then just kind of got addicted from there. It really was an overnight drug kind of thing that I just got addicted to. And from there, it spiraled out of control to me getting my captain's license this last year, and hopefully running some charters here this summer and just taking people out fishing, mating on boats, and now MOTS, I guess, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. What makes you a good fisher? What separates you from other fishers?
Our lures.
Oh, joke, yeah.
I think just the ability to consistently get on those large trophy class fish. A lot of people call them fish of lifetimes. Luckily, I've been taught by a number of mentors and friends and stuff on how to get onto those fish relatively consistently. We target anything from the striped bass, trophy class fish. It used to be 40 inches, now it's kind of in the 50-inch range. So we've evolved to use our tactics to, instead of using live bait, to artificial bait, which is sort of the inspiration behind MOTS. And then we'll also target anything from bluefin tuna as well, having landed a few giants.
Wow, that's so cool. Yeah, and it's cool that you're from right next door from me, because I live in Middletown and you went to CBA, Christian Brothers Academy. So it's cool to have you're a local fisher, I guess, to me.
Definitely. We'll have to get you out here this summer or something.
Yeah, totally. That's great. And what about you? Are you a big fisher? How did you talk about your relationship and how you got involved too?
No, I'm absolutely not a fisher. I similar to Duncan, my dad had taken me out when I was a child, 4 or 5, but no. So it was weird. I was just in my room, I think, one night, and I just received an email from Duncan, because I'd previously competed in the pitch competition for Fairfield Startup, wasn't on a startup showcase team, and I think maybe he heard I was good at talking, so he reached out to me and said, hey, do you want to come and talk about potentially joining the team? So we met at the library, and immediately I was just so struck by how passionate he was and how he identified a real life problem, and not only had a good business idea, but a real drive to make it succeed. So, you know, he could have been selling me air, but the drive and passion behind it really resonated with me, and I just thought it would be a really cool experience to be part of.
That's so sweet. How do you feel about that? Are you like, I would be tearing up right now?
Oh yeah. No, it was cool. Like you said, he won the elevator pitch competition, and so part of the starter program, you get a couple mentors to work with you to build out for the showcase here in April. And our mentor, Caitlin Walsh, actually recommended Cian, sent him the email, reached out, and I'm just so happy I did. It's really been a blessing. So.
Yeah, that's great. Is it just because he's a good talker? Is that why? Or?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, and he's got Canva Pro now, so you know.
Canva Pro.
Oh, Canva
Selling
Pro.
point.
When did you transition to that?
Only recently, I think just this year, I came into a bit of money in a job, so decided to invest in Canva Pro.
Yeah, that's great. So, like, can you talk about working together too? And I know Kyler's not here, but what has it been like to this process?
It's been fantastic. I think we work like really well together because we're like extremely different. I think that really came to light when we were on the Silicon Valley trip. Duncan's extremely laid back in a good way, but I can be quite manic and quite, you know, energized. So it's really good because I think we lean on each other when we need to, and particularly the past few weeks, it's been a lot of back and forth about, you know, little things on the deck, like what we're going to say. But I think ultimately it's a really good mix of, you know, good cop, bad cop. And I think we'll see a bit more of that in the showcase too.
Totally.
Yeah, I'd say the team kind of embodies that misfit motive kind of thing where we all have really different backgrounds, but we all come together and we work really well together, which is awesome. Yeah. Like, for instance, just this past week, we were working on our slide deck, and there was a slide where we just had two totally opposing views on how it should look. Yeah. And like, just by working together, compromising, I think it's the best slide.
Yeah,
on the
I think
deck.
it's like our best slide now.
Wow,
And
So
that's cool.
It's nice to see how like working together with two totally different backgrounds really works out as a strong suit for the team.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's cool to hear. So that was the inspiration behind Misfits of the Sea, that you're all kind of came together, Misfits, or how did that come?
I hated the name. When he first said it to me, I was like, can we please change the name? This is like MOTS. It just doesn't sound good. But again, like Duncan's explanation of like this is what these anglers are. They're misfits. They get up at 1 a.m. And they go fishing in the pitch black. Like that is the brand. So ultimately it did resonate with what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah, and I'd say that's kind of where the brand name kind of came from, is the style of fishing that's grown in popularity is in the Northeast has been jig and pop. So targeting those fish on lures and artificial baits as opposed to live bait, kind of like I mentioned earlier with the stripers. And so the guys who are doing this are just total misfits. I mean, we're running out at 1 a.m. out of the inlet into the pitch black, not knowing if you're going to hit a tree, if you're going to hit a buoy, or you know what. So it's not necessarily, we're not normal, you know? So it's very misfitty. It embodies the people who are using the products and just sort of the niche and the lifestyle of the guys, you know, who do this day in and day out.
Do you have any cool stories that you remember from an experience that you're like a misfit out at sea? And do you have any cool stories?
I got a whole bunch.
How long do you have?
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
I guess the biggest one, probably it's also the dumbest of mine, was me and my buddy. We went out fishing. So we had a mutual friend, and we went on the mutual friend's boat, which was a 39-foot Invincible, and we went out to the Wilmington Canyon. However, the seas were incredibly rough. It was, I think, like 6 foot, but you know, it was a big boat, so we were like, all right, we got it, and it was supposed to die down. And we ended up getting out there. I think we're like 120 miles offshore, and we're like, this is bad. Like, this is really bad. Like, all the big boats that were bigger than us turned around. And we, what do you call it? It builds to like 8-foot waves, which is, you know, I'm a 6-foot guy, so when I start looking up to waves, I start to get a little nervous.
I would imagine.
Yeah, and we're on a 39-foot boat, center console, and we take a 12-footer comes out of nowhere. And, you know, we're 120, 130 miles from port at this point. We're like off of Washington, D.C., south of the Hamptons kind of thing. And we take this 12-foot wave over the bow, and then the one right behind it was probably another 12-footer, and suddenly we're up to our knees, to our waist in water, and it's just they're yelling, grab a bucket and start bailing, because there's no one out there to save us. And so we bail it out, and we get pretty low, and then we realize that the now I forget what it's called, the automatic bailing system in the boat. I can't believe I'm forgetting the name. But that stopped working, and it was just circulating the water back in the boat, and we're like,
Oh my God.
how
How did you feel? Like, are you a type of person that's good in a situation like that, or?
Yeah, I think growing up on the water, you kind of get built into situations like that.
Yeah.
You kind of get trained, so to say, like in the river, and then, when you're 2 miles, 3 miles offshore, you could survive that. But when you're 120, 130 miles offshore, I wasn't nervous until my buddy, who's much more experienced than I am, got nervous, and he's like, start,
That's when you know.
thinking about life jackets and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then luckily they got it fixed. We had one kid who was an engineer on the boat. He got it fixed real quick. And we just hauled ass inshore doing like 50 miles an hour, just getting our asses beat. But it ended up calming down inshore, about 40 miles offshore. We realized we're safe, whatever. And we saw a basking shark, and it was just kind of like a, full circle. It was a basking shark, if you don't know, is a filter feeder shark. It looks just like a great white. So we didn't know if it was a great white or a basking shark, but the thing's like 18 feet long.
Oh, wow.
And it was just kind of cool to see that. And we had a yellowfin in the boat. So it was a cool day, but that really embodied the Misfit kind of craziest story we've had. And just the insanity that these anglers encompass.
Yeah. Have you ever had anything like that with your dad when you were fishing, like when you were younger?
No, all I can remember is throwing a rod out, and there was this salmon in the river, and it just broke the line. So that's the craziest fishing story I have, and I think it was like 4 or 5. So no, nothing since.
Yeah, the comparison of those two are like two way different stories.
I have happy stories too, but
that's kind of crazy. No, that's so cool. And just like I can't even imagine that, like from someone who has no experience on the water. But yeah, that's so crazy. Okay, but I want to hear about this trip. Talk about the Silicon Valley trip. So Chris Henley made like a list of the highlights of the trip, and he said that you got to talk to some captain and like compare notes when you guys were out on. Can you talk about that? Is that true?
Yeah, so on the Friday of the trip, we went on the Catamaran Adventures.
Oh, Catamaran, yeah.
So it's a sailboat, a dual hull, and I just got to talk to the captain. She was from pretty close to where you are in Jersey, actually.
Oh, really?
And just got to hear about her story. She doesn't fish, but she's into the sailing side of the captain aspect. And yeah, she started out in Jersey on Barnegat Bay and kind of moved down to the Bahamas, and from there moved, I think, to Mexico and then back up to San Francisco. And we're just kind of talking about her journey and how she's utilized her captain's license to live that life. And she had a really cool story behind her. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool to compare to someone from, I mean, I guess she did originate by us, but now she's all the way in California and she's still doing that. So that's cool. Well, talk about the experience. What was it like for you? And I bet it was amazing. Like, what was it like?
It was like quite surreal, actually. I'd been to California before, but I'd never been to San Francisco. But the week in itself, like, I still can't believe we did all of that in a week. Like, we went to NVIDIA, Google, Uber, Apple, like KPMG, Silicon Valley, Santa Clara,
Palo Alto.
Palo Alto.
Napa.
It was incredible. Like, speaking to like the highest people you can imagine in their companies and hear about their experiences, which is, I think, so valuable to us so early on in our, as we begin our careers, to hear how they navigated different things, how they chose to go into different roles, and what they liked and what they didn't like. Like, even hearing stories about Uber. And one of the original guys there was just pretty cool. And I think there was a really nice group there, a big mix of people, and we all got along really well. So that was great.
Yeah. And what about you? Anything like that really stuck out?
Yeah, same kind of thing. Really surreal experience. I think it was, $7 billion in market cap that we saw within 5 days, which was pretty insane to see. It really was a once in a lifetime experience. Like, I don't know how else you'd be able to go on the trip. And I mean, hats off to Chris Huntley and everyone involved in that trip. Packy Kelly,
Stephen Pilch, Joe Bronson. They're Fairfield alums who all are in the Bay Area, and they coordinated the entire thing. And like, there wasn't a second where we were not doing anything or learning something or taking something out of it. So yeah, like, big thanks to those guys, and I would encourage anyone who gets the opportunity to apply to go next year or beyond to absolutely go.
And have you continued to foster those relationships that you like those people that you met, have you continued to talk to them since the trip?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Definitely. I still got to reach out to Steve Pilch and set up a meeting and talk about real estate. But I know Cian's organizing a little reunion here soon for the.
Yeah, trying to get everyone together before the showcase, trying to de-stress a bit. I mean, Cindy, who came to, Juliana, even the faculty, people who came, they were great. I mean, it was just such a good mix of people who all wanted to learn, all wanted to, really experience everything hands-on. And yeah, it was fantastic.
Yeah, I bet you guys got really close during that trip.
Yeah,
That's so cool.
real quick too. Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. Is there any was there one experience that you could share, like one little story that was like the best part of the trip?
I personally really enjoyed the closing reception in Napa Valley. We were in Packy's house. So he's a partner in KPMG. I think he graduated in 91, I'm going to say. I don't want to offend him. So we had a closing reception in his house in Napa Valley. The sun was setting in his gorgeous home, and we all got to give a reflection on what we were taking out of the experience, and hearing different people's perspectives. And we've all come from such different backgrounds, and it was just such, I think cathartic would be the best word to describe, just seeing where you were even a few days ago to where you are now and how your perspectives have shifted. It was just so special to have that experience.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, and like you said, everything was so surreal. I guess the beach bum in me would say the sailboat, but also, what do you call it? The Salesforce Tower was absolutely incredible.
God, yeah.
It's sort of like San Francisco's version of the Freedom Tower, I'd say.
Yeah, I think it's the tallest building at the West Coast.
And we got to go up to the top floor where they have the cafe and everything, and it's a 360-degree view of the city, and you could pretty much see it, almost from Napa.
Yeah.
So it was cool to be at the top of there and just see everything.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And can you talk about your families and what they thought of that experience and what they think of you guys doing this project?
I think my my aunt especially was the most jealous of me going to Silicon Valley because she used to live in San Francisco and stuff.
Oh, really?
But yeah, no, I think my mom and dad were really happy. They thought it was a great opportunity, and I think my sister wasn't too jealous because she was down on the beach in Florida for spring break.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. My family are obviously back home in Ireland, so just sending constant pics. And yeah, they were thrilled for me. They're a brilliant support system.
Yeah. What do they think of you coming to Fairfield, and why did you decide to come here too?
So luckily I received the Conlist scholarship in 2023, so that enabled me to, pursue higher education, my master's here in Fairfield U. So yeah, they're like the best support system ever. I call them regularly. They're so good to check up. Obviously it's really tough being so far away from them. And it was particularly hard when I first came over because I knew absolutely no one. So it was like starting fresh in a master's program was quite the challenge, but they're only a phone call away, and I've all my WhatsApp notifications on, so I don't miss much, fortunately.
That's good. Yeah, it's amazing how much you've done here, and that must have been such a difficult adjustment, but you did so well with it, and that's incredible.
Thank you.
What do you guys think of what you've done here? Are you guys proud of your contribution to this and what you've done?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think my biggest regret is kind of getting more involved senior year. I wish I did it sooner. So, any freshmen or underclassmen out there, I think the biggest advice would be get involved. And I think the biggest key for that for me was getting in contact with Chris Huntley. He's so connected to all the programs here at Fairfield. And if you really want to accelerate your experience here at Fairfield, he's the guy to get in contact with.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I always think, and it's something that was pronounced more when we were on the Silicon Valley immersion trip, is that you have to make your own opportunity, and I'm sure you know that too with all the amazing things you do, is that no one's gonna hand you something, and if they do, it's probably not worth it anyway. You have to go and make your own opportunity, and I think that's what Fairfield Startup is all about, and they encourage that. And yeah, particularly Chris Huntley is one of the best mentors or faculty that they have here. He knows everyone individually, so he wants them to, follow their own path. He wants them to do what they actually love, and it's not, a systematic answer of, well, you should go into this master's program or you should go into this graduate job. He wants you to do your best and excel, and I think that's a really rare quality to have in an educator that can, not only talk the talk but walk the walk. I mean, he literally walked us through Silicon Valley too.
Yeah. Wow, I've gotten to meet him because I joined Startup Club, which Christian O'Rourke kind of blossomed, and
Jesus Christian, yeah.
yeah, I just had him on just yesterday actually, so it's funny to talk to you guys back to back.
How long was the podcast? 3 hours?
Yeah, close, like yeah, but yeah, he seems like a great guy. That's good to know to stay connected with him, and yeah, it's cool to be a part of Startup Club too, because it's kind of it's like a mini version of what you guys are doing, you know?
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's a good training ground too for the freshmen and sophomores to, you know, get to grips on the concepts of starting a business, and then, you know, ultimately getting into the showcase and going on the Silicon Valley trip.
And from what I understand, it's sort of like the minor leagues, like the feeder program into the main startup program, which I think is awesome. I wish we had that kind of when I was younger, like a freshman, sophomore, just to kind of know what the startup program actually is and what it entails and everything. And in addition, it prepares you so well. And then Christian has so much going on now too with the Fairfield Founders. I know he's going to be presenting at the showcase or the reception for it or something.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I think that'll hopefully help us down the line.
Yeah.
How do you guys balance all your work? I know while you're taking night classes and working at the same time and doing this, you're still a senior. How are you balancing everything?
Coffee.
I don't even know. It's just sort of time management. I think this semester's probably been a blessing in disguise in terms of harping on my time management skills and how to plan effectively. And I'm currently in 6 classes for credit. Startup isn't for credit, so it's basically a 7th class, and then 3 of those are capstones, and then 1 is a grad class. So I am pretty busy this semester, but it's keeping me on my toes, and I think it is going to prepare me well for the workforce. But yeah, I mean, just find something that works for you. Find, you know, whether it's how you take notes, it's Google Calendar, whatever it is, it's just.
Do you use Google Calendar?
Yeah.
Is that your thing?
Yeah.
GCal?
GCal, I love GCal.
Same. I'm a big GCal user.
Yeah. And then, I think just find what works for you and, you know, become a master at that and, just keep working, keep going at it.
Don't slow down because you'll stop.
Yeah, so once you slow down and start to take a break, it's you know, what is it? Newton's third law, objects in motion then stay in motion. So you just got to stay in motion and keep grinding it out.
Yeah,
You
totally.
have to have fun too, you know.
Yeah, gotta find a good balance between that, totally.
Exactly.
Because then you're just gonna burn yourself out if you gotta find a good balance.
Yeah.
That's good.
Thankfully, startup doesn't really feel like as much like work because, you know, we're friends with everyone.
Definitely, and I mean, our 3rd team member Kyler is a little under the weather today. He founded the rock climbing club, which I know you're a part of, and so that helps, you know, break up the pace of things.
Yeah, that's how me and Duncan met. We're rock climbing on the same rock climbing club. So yeah. Thanks so much for talking to me. This is so great. I wish you so much luck at the startup competition and beyond too. This is such an awesome concept. So
thanks for having us, and
Yeah,
can't wait to
thank
see you April 25th. Right?
Yeah, see you there.